Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 284 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, starting with the owner of MTGGoldfish, Richard. How's it going this fine Monday morning, Richard?
It is going well. How are you doing, Seth?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk about some Magic, even though there's not a ton to talk about this week. It's kind of, I don't know, the calm before the storm, and we're going to have like Double Masters and then Zendikar, so it's just kind of a bit of a lull, but we still have some sweet topics and plenty of fish mail. But before we get to that, we have another co-host in Krim. How are you today, Krim?
Morning, Seth. It's been a fun week. I've been playing a lot of Standard, so...
Well, that's good because our topics this week, as I mentioned, a little bit of a slow week, so we want to do kind of a Standard update, talk about some changes in Standard over the past week. Also might hit on a couple other random topics like foods we've eaten recently, I guess, or Krim and I have eaten recently. And then, of course, we're going to have some time, so we'll get through a bunch of fish mail questions this week. But before we get into that, our sponsor this week is Card Conduit. And Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell Magic cards. And if you're looking to avoid all the hassles of selling your cards, which I can tell you from experience, it takes a lot of work to sort all your cards. You gotta ship all your cards. You gotta type them into a buy list. Card Conduit, they take care of all that for you. Just ship it over to Card Conduit, brought to you by the folks over at Card Hoarder, and they will sort and grade and sell your Magic cards. And once your shipment is processed, you'll receive the proceeds minus their fee. And right now you can get a 10% discount by going to cardconduit.com/goldfish. So thank you to Card Conduit for supporting the show today. And let's talk some Magic. Let's start off with Standard. So we talked a lot of Standard last week. So we're not going to rehash all of M21 Standard. We kind of know what it's about. But what is different? What has developed in the Standard format in the past week?
Oh, man. There's been a lot. I've been seeing a lot of attempts at, I think, mono black aggro. It's been oddly popular. I've played against it a decent amount. And other than that, I've played against a bajillion Bant and Sultai decks. But in between that, it's cool to see that there is somewhat of an aggro deck. Yeah, like I'm seeing a lot of Rotting Regisaurs, or there's like Rakdos aggro where it is Rotting Regisaur trying to equip an Embercleave.
Rotting Regisaur with Embercleave is a pretty frightening clock. Yeah, that's kind of been my impression of the format too, is last week, the story was definitely like the mid-range decks, Ugin decks, kind of dominating the format. And this week, for me, I think the story is aggro decks trying to fight back. You mentioned mono black aggro. They actually had the most recent challenge on Magic Online. Rakdos aggro, or mono black aggro, was actually the most played deck, and there's also some mono red aggro decks in there as well. So it seems like this is the rise of aggro to try to get in under the Ugins and the Elspeth Conqueror's Deaths and just the insane late game of the mid-range / ramp spells. I think the question is, will this actually work? Like, I think it works right now if, your mid-range decks are really focused on fighting other mid-range decks. If your Bant decks, though, start playing more sweepers or whatever, are we just gonna see mono black aggro, fade away just as quickly? It feels like the cards in, Bant Ramp are just so strong, and they have so many options that if they want to be aggro, they can. They just haven't needed to be aggro. So is this a case where we're actually seeing aggro become a legitimate part of the metagame, or do you think they are exploiting these mid-range ramp decks that are tuned to fight each other and not especially worried about aggro because aggro hasn't been a big part of the metagame?
I mean, they don't really need to. You kind of have rock, paper, scissors where you have aggro decks. So mono black is the new hotness, but we've always had mono red. So mono black, I guess the goal is to demonic embrace your Rotting Regisaur and just 10 someone in the face. Instead of trying to assemble enough weenies to Embercleave, you just try to combo someone like that. But we saw the rise of aggro this weekend, and where aggro rises, sacrifice rises, right? Good luck getting your Rotting Regisaur claimed, getting smacked for 10 in the face, and then getting it sacrificed afterwards. So we do have this terrible rock, paper, scissors where aggro decks race to fight Bant decks, but then Jund Sacrifice comes in to wreck any aggro deck, and then Bant just walks over Jund Sacrifice. So I don't know if it's healthy, but it's kind of a 3-deck metagame where you have rock, paper, scissors. And like I guess Team Erect is kind of in the same boat as Bant there.
Yeah.
But it's just the race of like who can combo kill someone first, right? Like I don't know.
I mean, I've actually been seeing a ton of also mobilized districts. I've been seeing that card all over the place. And I'm just like, wow, it's actually kind of annoying to deal with, right? Because like you can't just pick it off with like a Shatter to the Sky. So like the thing here is I've been seeing that card and it's been doing a lot of work, and I you know, is that card good? Like these aggro decks like mono black and whatnot, even I saw it in a few mono red and like mono green decks. It's just like mobilized district is hard to remove. So many decks right now are very greedy and not really running that much like instant speed interaction. It's just like sweepers, Oath of Kaya, stuff like that. And like, I don't know, it's not, like it just gets around all of that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too. Mobilized District gets a reduction on its activated cost based on the number of legends you control, legendary creatures and planeswalkers, and most of the decks that are playing this are not really taking advantage of that. Like Mono Black has Rankle, I guess, but really it's people are just like paying full price 4 mana to activate my creature land, and apparently it's working. So that is definitely interesting. I also think this week, maybe my favorite part is, it kind of maybe has vindicated my, love and support of Demonic Embrace. I know that was a card that during spoiler season, I was like tweeting about and I had it on my top 10 standard list, and I couldn't understand why more people were not hyped about it. Like, to me, it seems like an incredibly powerful card, and that is like the key piece of these mono black aggro decks, being able to send your Rotting Regisar or whatever to the sky or Knight of the Even Legion and close out the game really quickly. So it's been cool to see that card kind of take off a little bit in the mono black deck as well.
I've seen that. Like, for me, I'm still not sure how good mono black aggro is, but I can tell you that I've seen that in Pioneer, Demonic Embrace in mono black aggro there. So I think it's actually like insanely strong in Pioneer. Like, holy cow.
People still play Pioneer?
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know. I mean, and the people that do, they're playing like mono black aggro, and there's a lot of Demonic Embrace there.
So where do you think Standard goes from here? What do you think we're talking about a week from now when we're kind of recapping Standard? So this was Aggro's week. Are you expecting, when we talk about the tournament results next weekend, we're going to be back to mid-range being on the top of the meta in Ugins and those type of cards? Or do you think we're still going to be talking about aggro decks winning the battle?
Much like Richard said, is at any point once aggro goes on the rise, Jund Sacrifice and all the cat decks come back, and they come back in like full force, right? So I'm not. It feels real bad having your stuff stolen and then getting hit by like Richard said, your Regisaur or anything like that. So it does not feel great.
Yeah, I'm done with Standard. I'm ready for preview season. I don't know like how you guys think. Like, I'm thinking of myself at like the evolution of a Magic player and what I expect WotC to do to keep me entertained. But basically, last week I tried to grind my way to Mythic. I didn't understand that the ladder reset, so I was like D1 on the day of the ladder reset. I'm like, the ladder resets? This is like stupid. But I guess I should have known this. But I have I play like a billion matches, and all my matches are against like Bant Ramp, some aggro deck, or Teamer Rec, or Jund Sacrifice. And that's it. That's the metagame. And if I continue to play Standard this week or next week, it's just the same cards over and over and over again, which I already played through last Standard. We played how many decks that had Fire's Invention, how many decks that had Uro. I'm just like done with it, right? Like, there's not enough depth to keep playing and grinding. So I don't know. I really feel like I'm done with M21 Standard, even though it's literally been like 7 days or something since the set released. And I don't know why you would continue playing Standard. Like, it's just the same matches over and over again. It's not like Modern, where, even though we like complain about the metagame, like when you queue up for a league, you play many different decks, right? There'll always be that guy trying to make Tarmogoyf work in 2020, right? So you'll play, you'll play against Jund, you'll play against Boggles, even if the most dominant deck is, insert the new hotness, you'll play against these weird obscure decks. Whereas on Arena, I don't really see obscure decks, and if they show up, they get steamrolled so fast, like it doesn't matter. So I don't know. I just get bored of standard really quickly.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't mind if there's like a 3-4 deck meta. I think the issue though is just the patterns of play are most of them just cheat on mana. Wilderness Reclamation is cheating on mana. Cultivate, Nissa, Uro, all leading into like an Ugin on turn 4 or 5. 8 mana really feels like 4 or 5 mana right now, right? And 5 is just like, well, Nissa is just the best 3 mana planeswalker. The thing here is, I think it's the patterns of play that make standard a little bit exhausting right now. It's a little bit exhausting, just constantly having to deal with that. And like, if you don't have an efficient way to like get rid of Uro or get around it, like it's hard to out aggro them, right? You can't go underneath that.
I will also say that I think even when standard is good or in better places than it has been in the last year, summer is usually kind of a dead time. Like, that's when you have all the cards, you've seen the same decks for a long time, Collect a Company is 40% of the meta, or Rally the Ancestors is 40%, like, this always happens in summer. So yes, the whole like year of standard has had lots of ups and downs and not been great, but in some sense, that doesn't feel too much different to me than a normal summer, when summer is just a time when standard gets old for me, and I'm looking forward to rotation. For me, the good news is, and much like you, Richard, I love the openness and the different decks you see in modern. The good news for me is, as far as Arena is concerned, we have Jumpstart releasing in 2 weeks, and Historic kind of gives me that feeling that you were talking about in Modern, where if you play the Historic ladder, yeah, you'll see Mono Red a decent amount. You'll see Simic Nexus a decent amount, which I would still think that should be banned. But Historic does have that feeling where you see a whole bunch of different decks, and you got people trying all different kinds of things. And I think that's even going to become much more like that once Jumpstart dumps all these new strategies and powerful new cards into the format. So I think that's kind of my haven on Arena. Like, I still love Modern, play that on Moto a lot, but I've really been enjoying Historic a lot, and I think I'm going to enjoy it even more. So maybe, I don't know, have you tried Historic, Richard? Like, do you have any interest in trying to get your Modern fix with the Historic format on Arena?
So I get my Magic fix by playing Limited. So, but I'm like almost done Limited too. Like, my collection is like filled out. So like, there's no point in playing Limited because there's no Phantom Limited. But Historic, I'm going to try out at one point or another. I just don't want to get Ugin'd. And also because Jumpstart is coming soon, I want to wait for that before I start wasting my wild cards building decks. But I'm still not convinced that Historic is the answer to anything, because it's a brewer's paradise right now because the pros haven't gotten their hands on it. We haven't solved the metagame. But I'm really curious what happens after the first kind of big event and the metagame solidifies. And, you know, if you're playing Jank and you go against a tier 1 deck, you have no chance. You get blown away. So the metagame will kind of solidify around that. So we'll see how that goes. But the good news with Historic is they can keep adding cards at will. We're not restricted like Standard, where you have to wait for a new Standard set or anything. They can just be like, look, Historic Anthologies 3.5 tomorrow, 10 new cards, right? Or we're suspending cards tomorrow. Like, let's go. So maybe that will save the format, but I don't know. From the people that brought you Standard, they're bringing you Historic. Like, how do you feel about that, right? At least Modern, we're like, okay, WotC from like 20 years ago has some input into this format, right? From the cards they made that long ago. So they're influencing it. Today, it's just all new playtest design team and stuff on Historic. So,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure the pros will just like eventually get to the point where they all just play the Nexus deck with, like, you know, a few discontinuities in it, right? Or the 2 mana green creature that gets an additional 2/2 when you draw like your second card each turn. Like, so far that's just been the best of 3 meta. But if I've been kind of just going into best of 1 just for like my sanity when it comes to like Historic, because I cannot deal with Nexus in best of 3.
Nexus is banned in best of 1.
Yeah. So like, I've been doing just like, hey, it just feels so much better playing best of 1 right now, just because you can get away from all of that.
I also gotta say, that's like absurd that it's not banned in Historic, but it's banned in one part. Like, it's the same format wizards. Like, come on now, just ban it in best of 3 and be done with it. Like, if something is problematic enough that you got to ban it in best of 1, just bite the. What is the value of leaving Nexus around? Like, why? Like, it adds this confusion. It makes a DNR.
Seth, you can sideboard against Nexus.
Yeah, but everyone hates Nexus in best of 3 too. Like, it is a reviled Magic card. Nexus, I will say, I think that's the card that like kind of saved Teferi. Like, if it wasn't for Nexus being so miserable, people would have been way more upset about Teferi when it was in Standard. Like, Nexus might be the most hated card that's been printed in the last 2 years, and there's been a lot of hated cards. So I really hope they ban it. And I think the biggest argument for me is they have the Mythic Invitational coming up in August. And if you wanna, like, people are hyped for this format, and the way to kill that hype and to make people not interested is have people turn into this Mythic Invitational and watch it be endless Nexus mirrors, because no one is going to spend their weekend watching people loop Nexus of Fates. Like, that's not an option. So I really hope that they get rid of it. I think that would definitely improve the format.
Yeah. And to kind of like go back a little bit on what you said, I think normally right now, with it being summer and all these Magic cards, I realized this is normally a time where like I would be reminiscing and enjoying and missing cards that are about to like rotate out of Standard. But I realized this summer, right? I don't think I miss a single card. From like I don't feel like I'm gonna miss anything. I mean, maybe 3 Fairy, but like that's about it, right? Like
you can tell immediately who's not an aggro player. When 3 Fairy.
I'm gonna miss 3 Fairy, but like that's about it. And I think that like before I'd be like, oh man. Like Jace living, or like, like not living guild pact, Architect of Thought. Like I would miss those cards, or Sphinx's Revelation, a Dig Through Time, Perilous Vault, Ashiok, all those cards, right? But like, there were so many. But then this year I'm just like, please, just did rotation happen yet?
Yeah. Move it up a little. Like, can we rotate in August instead of September, please?
Seriously, please. Just because, like, I really cannot stand the play pattern. But at the same time, I've had success because I think, Richard, you had mentioned how, like, you still can't do too many crazy brews without getting stomped. But I've been playing a lot of Esper Bolus, and like even like Gabriel Nassif came by and my channel and has been playing the deck, and he said that it's been insanely powerful. So, and I guess the way to play right now is to beat those Bant decks and those Sultai decks is to go greedier than those decks, where it's just like ridiculous. I mean, like the mana base may seem a little crazy at first, but on top of that, you're just playing nothing but Planeswalkers. They play their ECD. Cool. Planeswalker like 13 has now like next up in queue, right? And if they commit to the board, then you Ugin. And I know my chat, everybody like hysterically laughs at it because they're just like, hold on. I don't think Krim even casted a single ramp spell. He just hard casted an Ugin for 8 mana.
How did you survive that long?
I know, right? It's just honest magic.
The problem is not winning though, right? The problem is like, are you having fun? And I guess as a mid-range player, I'm like inherently screwed here in Standard because we can't play mid-range. But
you can. Super Friends.
I was playing Azorius Flyers, and my win rate was like pretty insane. Like I made it to like D1 from whatever you started, like bronze, if you haven't played in a while, in like 2 days. Right? Like I had a crazy win rate with Azorius Flyers because I was just like one drop, Rally Wings, you're dead. Or one drop, counter your sweeper, Rally Wings, you're dead. And basically you just auto lose to sacrifice decks, but then you eat up everyone else. And it was going nuts. I was like, I'm going to go double mythic, right? And then ladder reset because I didn't know it reset. And I'm like, I have zero desire to play now, right? There's only so many Uros I can beat. Like, even if I'm winning, like, it's just not fun, right? Because it's like you said, the same pattern over. I just drop all my 1-drops, hope I get my combo finish, which is a Rally of Wings or a counter spell for the Shatter. If I get it, I win. If I don't, I lose. And then rinse and repeat. And even if I'm successful with that, it's still kind of boring, right? I kind of like the mid-range games, right? Where you like grind people out, you always feel like you have a chance, you're playing interactive Magic, and then you have a wide variety of cards you can use in your sideboard at like, 2 to 4 CMC, because your mid-range good stuff, you can just do whatever you want. And then get people with like sideboard cards, right? But now all the sideboard cards are the same. It's like Ether Gust, yes, right? Like whatever the decree or whatever, the white one, right? It's like everyone has the same sideboard cards, yeah. So it's just like there's nothing original, right? Like my most original thing is like I'll get them with a Safara or something, right? It's like I don't know. It's just not fun. But I'm complaining. Give me some mid range things where I can like sideboard. I want to sideboard an Ashiok, right? Like that's what I want to do, right? But like you just can't afford to play these regular cards. Like all your cards need a combo finish your opponent, or else nothing happens because he just gets wiped by Ugin.
But Thought Distortion is good. Isn't that card fun? It's like I'm telling you this here. I dropped the link to the Super Friends deck, and Elder Spell is good, right? I've been main decking that. You know how many games I've won with quote unquote standard Splinter Twin, aka Nicol Bolas and the Elder Spell?
So Krim's idea of a good time includes 4 Narsets, 4 Teferis, 1 Kaya, and Ugin.
I think it's 6 Teferis technically with Master of Time.
Oh yeah. Master of Time is in there.
Nicol Bolas.
Extinction Event. I'm like,
yeah, look at that. Look.
I consider you Bant Ramp, okay?
What?
You're like the same.
No. I am playing honest Magic here, okay?
Honest Magic for one Planeswalker just snowballs the game out of control. So, like, you can't do anything.
Yeah, and I mean, we auto lose to, like, Mono Blue or any deck that plays, like, cheap counter spells. But like... This is honest Magic. You're looking at peak honest Magic here. Look at Ugin. That is 8 mana, and that is an actual 8 mana card. Like,
I don't know about our current standard world if all the stacks Planeswalkers are considered honest Magic. Oh my goodness!
And he has a companion to throw
that
in there. He's just like Yorion. Sure, why not? Right? Why not?
It's definitely a crim pile, right? But the thing here is, it's so it does feel good. Like this is one of those decks that you're talking about. You're grinding, you're playing these matchups, and you have something to do at almost every every draw step. Obviously, Planeswalkers are good with that, but like being able to win and like, I think one of the best things in the world is playing, or at least in this current standard, is playing Nicol Bolas and you show them Elder Spell game 1. And then the amount of like respect they have to go, I can't commit more than like 1 Planeswalker or else I'll die out of the blue. So sometimes I'll just like hold a land or something and make them respect it.
I do like Elder Spell though. It is one of the ways to control our Planeswalker heavy meta.
Yeah.
But I feel Wizards has been trying to make Planeswalker removal, but they all like suck. I think the 1/4 Death Touch is their latest attempt of like somehow, but like currently you just like spill a bunch of Planeswalkers on the battlefield and like no one can do anything about it aside from Elder Spell.
Yeah.
But like just like a 2-mana 2/2 or something that ETB kills or neuters a Planeswalker or something like that. Like we need more.
Oh, we do
things like that.
The Eidolon, the 2/1 from Theros. They pay 1 more to activate.
Yes, you have to pay 1 mana now.
We need like Vampire Hexmage, like something like that would do it. Like Vampire Hexmage would be decent, or Vampire Hexmage with an ETB rather than sacrifice. Like that, I think would be pretty good.
I guess Questing Beast is like the
Nisolax.
most successful answer to Planeswalker I think we have. But
Bant decks have started to just throw that randomly in the main deck, and I'm just like, okay. Wait, what? Why do we have a Questing Beast? Yeah. It's kind of wild.
So other standard question I wanted to ask you guys before we move on to other stuff. What do y'all think of Uro? I realized this weekend, because Uro shot up to $60 now. Oh. So I was looking at some of the data on Uro, and it's currently most played creature in Standard, 49% of decks. It is currently the most played creature in Modern, 25% of decks, and it is currently technically the second most played creature in Legacy, although really the number 1 is Plague Engineer, which is pretty much just a sideboard card. So number 1 most played main deck creature, I would say, in Legacy in 19% of decks. is Uro just too good? Like, I'm surprised we haven't heard Uro be a card that people focus in on as far as like bannings and so forth. Like, what do you think of the power level of Uro?
I mean, yeah, that definitely seemed like a pretty powerful card, I think, at spoiler season, right? When we had talked about it then, and now it's just like, it's taken over. It's taken over, right? Like, the card is just too good, right? It does, I think at spoiler season, we already knew it was good, but I think we still undervalued how, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's, the life gain is huge. The ability to constantly bring it back and, like, you know, refill, like, it's not hard to fill our graveyard, right? Like, it feels terrible when they just have a Tameo. Not because they can minus and get something back, but because they could just plus, and then you have to deal with Uro for the 19th time. and like them drawing a card. Like, I don't want to see, like, another draw ramp kind of like card for quite some time. Like Explorer, Growth Spiral, and definitely it feels much worse when now it's attached to a 6/6 that also does the same thing again when it attacks.
I feel we give Uro a pass because it's a creature. But Uro feels like a planeswalker to me, right? Like, it comes in and it generates like 5-for-1 value, and you have to immediately answer it. And in this case, it's like exile from graveyard or something like that, right? Like, you can't answer it in the traditional ways, but it just feels like, imagine your opponent turn 3 to Fairy and you didn't remove it, or you didn't deal with it, right? Like, that's the kind of value that Uro adds, except it also kills you, like, with combat damage instead of an ultimate. So I feel we give it a pass because it's a creature, but it feels just as oppressive as some of these other planeswalkers. Well, but does it need to be banned? I don't know about that.
I mean, it feels a little bit better though, right? Like, let's say I just counter your planeswalker and that's it. Once I deal with it, it doesn't constantly come back. Uro is like what Elspeth wanted to be, right? Like, when you say planeswalkers, like, you know what I mean? Like, that escape ability, just constantly bringing it back is disgusting.
Yep.
So
yeah, that is part of what makes it so hard for sure. Just the recursive nature of it. Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to see it banned, but it is definitely, I mean, it's probably the best card in Standard, really. Like, it doesn't get it's not as flashy as like, oh, I play Ugin and I win the game or something like that, but it really is the deck that I think, or the card that powers all of those decks. And if it wasn't for Uro and Growth Spiral, I don't know where things would be at. I think that at least maybe the ramp decks would be a little bit fair. Like, if after rotation people have to, like, I don't know, cultivate an Azusa, like, at least there's cost. You know, like, all of your ramp is not also drawing you cards. So I don't know. I kind of am coming around to the idea that maybe Uro is a card that people are going to be tired of having in Standard. Especially since it doesn't rotate in the fall and it's going to be around for another year and a half, but I guess we'll see. But I think it is the like hidden power of a lot of Standard decks, because it doesn't take the heat. Like, it's the finishers that people focus in on so much. But even like the Wilderness Reclamation decks, so many of those decks are really, it's Uro that's making the degenerate stuff happen, or keeping those decks alive against aggro long enough to let it happen or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, like, it does feel like the backbone of most of these blue-green X decks, right? Like, if you're in Simic, it doesn't matter what game plan, it's an auto-include into those decks, just because it does everything.
We need more power creep.
Yeah, that's
so you know how discard spells now are starting to get additional abilities, like exile a card from your hand or graveyard in case they're like Hellbent. Now we'll reprint Fatal Push. Okay, you kill something, and then you may exile up to one card from any graveyard,
and then your opponent discards one card at random.
Discards.
Yeah.
Or
no. And then if your opponent had a land enter the battlefield this turn, they like sacrifice 2 lands.
Honestly, I would like to see more discard at random effects come back.
Oh, you want him to Torak? I see where you're going. I'm down with this.
Right? Like, I mean, at this point, if everything is so redundant, like, I don't even know if it's that good, right? Like, I think we had mentioned it last week, right, Seth, where, like, you go Thought Erasure, and you look at someone's hand, and their hand is like, Nissa, Elspeth Conquers Death, Ugin, it's like, and just, I'll concede. Like, 2 mana, I'll just lose the game. May as well just bring discard at random.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I'd also like to see like Swords to Plowshares, or at least Path to Exile. Like, I actually think those are the type of answers that maybe the threats that we have in Standard right now demand. Do you think that would be healthy for Standard? Like, I used to think, oh, it would just be too good, but now I'm kind of like, actually, maybe like that's exactly what we need. Is that
that's exactly what Bant Ramp will use to protect their Teferi, right? Like, what I want to see is like conditional Planeswalker removal, like a fatal push for Planeswalkers, where like 1 mana destroy a 3 CMC or less Planeswalker, something like that. Like, I don't want them to get more tools to remove anything. Do you really want them to path your questing beast? Like, what are you gonna use to kill anything now, right? I guess it gets rid of Uro. That's where you're going with that, right? You
get to exile Uro and random gods, and
but they get a land,
stuff.
So they're actually up 2 lands. Do you want that?
Yeah, that's true. Well, at a minimum, play more Scavenging Uses. Every time I've played against Scavenging Use, it's looked insane, but people don't play it that much for some reason.
It's so slow. You play Eat an Uro, it gets Wrath.
But it's like
Wrath, it's like Jund, right? Like, it's so slow. Like, you need to put immense pressure, and then it's like nice cleanup. But if like you don't have any pressure, it kind of just does nothing, and they just kill you with other stuff.
But it feels good if they use a Wrath on that, right? I mean, I
think that's still a win for the most part.
Yeah, like I feel like the card itself, that's like, that card is great. I mean, like even against the non-aggro decks, like, you're just still being annoying by offsetting their Uro count, or like blanking Elspeth target's death, or Elspeth target's death, Elspeth conquers death. It feels like Scavenging Ooze just does something at all, like in every matchup. So I kind of like it.
Well, any other Standard thoughts, or should we move on to other topics? All right, so we're going to get to fish mail in a minute, but quick side road before we get to fish mail. Krim, you were telling me precast that that you ate something interesting on stream, and actually I did as well. We did the pizza stream, and I had my first ever experience with anchovies, which, oh boy. But Krim, what did you eat on stream recently?
So I guess this past weekend we both had a very adventurous culinary culinary adventures, and
remember to set the context for this. I don't think, at least I am not a very adventurous eater. I remember when we went to like the really sweet buffet at GP Vegas last year, and you were like searching out the pizza and stuff.
Yeah. We went to a while. Yeah, Richard was like roasting us. Like, we went to a buffet.
Yo, catch this, okay? We go to Vegas, okay? Krim was like, yo, I want to try the most expensive buffet in Vegas, okay? We're like, all right? Like, we meet up once a year. Why not, right? Let's go experience the culinary pleasures of the world. So we go there, okay? It's like, I don't know, it's like $100 a person or $150 a person or something. All you can drink, right? Like unlimited wine, margaritas, whatever. Lobsters, seafood galore. These two guys seek out the French fries and pizza. And I'm like, yo, we should just like the Shake Shack. Why are we spending all this money? I'm like, face palming. We went to Vegas, got to like the most expensive buffet, and we're eating French fries. I'm like, we could have just went to McDonald's.
But in all fairness, though, I had crab legs with the pizza, and then I had the most random plate. It was like I had a brownie, crab, and like pizza, like all in one plate.
I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna be like, Krim, would you like a Black Lotus or a foil Teferi? Huh?
Give me the foil Teferi. What are you talking about? Like over the weekend, right? I decided because like I think. So I did the fundraiser, and I did a fundraiser, and like for one of the goals, that like for like hitting one of the milestones, I would do a hot wing, like kind of like hot sauce challenge, right? And if you've seen like hot ones and things like that, I do enjoy watching that. And so I bought a few of those sauces. I think the sauces I had over the spread was Scorpion Pepper, Carolina Reaper, Da Bomb, Last Dab, and these were so spicy. There was so much capsaicin that I think like my gums like were like burnt. Like, and my lips were like raw and on fire. And like, I remember at a point of the stream, I was just slurring words together because I couldn't just use my mouth to like, you know what I mean? I couldn't, my face felt numb. My face felt numb, and it was just hilarious. Like, I mean, I love spicy food challenges and stuff like that. So like you'll see like on Man vs. Food, you know, they'll eat the spicy wings, and I enjoy doing all those things. So that was a very, 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 very spicy, like spicy adventure. I think if you watch from the second before I eat, I'm like ghost pale white. And then I have like 2 bites of my wing, and it's just like I look like I was sunburnt. I went to some outdoor music festival under the sun for like 10 hours straight. And I was sweating, and you know, like I couldn't, like, I was like arguing with myself, like, should I drink this milk? I don't need milk. And on top,
you didn't even have milk?
No, I did, but I was staring at it. I was like, winners get milk, and I'm only on the first wing. Winners can't quit now. So yeah.
So I actually wonder who had it worse then. My experience was not so much spicy as fishy and salty. I don't have either of you ever eaten an anchovy? I've spent the weekend trying to figure out why anyone would why do they exist? Why does anyone order them on their pizza? I had never eaten anchovies before, and I guess it was even worse than anchovies because it was like a pineapple bacon anchovy hot pepper pizza. So it had all kinds of just absolutely horrible toppings on it mixed together, like stuff that probably shouldn't go together, all mixed together. But the anchovy was definitely the thing that dominated that pizza, and I almost vomited on stream. It was very close. I almost didn't get it down, and I did it though, and I did get through it, which I'm pretty happy about. But I really don't get it, like why that is something that is even on the menu at pizzerias. But you guys said you've eaten it before. What did you think of anchovies?
I think the saltiness of it is just what like makes me kind of not into it. It's just like, wow. I legitimately feel like I just drank a glass of ocean water, right? Like, it's just like, what is going on here? And I like seafood. I enjoy seafood. I enjoy all that stuff, but like, and like, so like all the weird textures of like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you thought the texture of anchovy was weird. I was okay with that. I was just not okay with the like salt level.
I'm so curious really now.
High. Have you not had it?
I'm so curious. I've never had anchovy pizza. I've never met anyone who enjoys it or has even tried it. Like like there must be some pocket somewhere where like everyone just eats anchovy pizza, right? Or it's the greatest marketing ploy ever, because I've never seen anyone eat anchovy pizza except for Ninja Turtles. Like that's it, right? So I am not sure, but I'm actually kind of curious. How bad could it be?
I thought it was really.
Does the cheese and sauce not like drown out whatever flavor the anchovies bring?
No. The anchovy drowns out everything else. It is very strong. I think even like, so I put like 1 anchovy per slice, basically. At least is how the pizza that we got on stream was. And the entire slice of pizza, even once the actual anchovy is gone, it just like seeps out into it, and the whole slice tastes anchovy-ish. Oh, it's so bad. But you should try it and film yourself if there's anything that makes me feel better. So
I'll tell you this though, I will 100% do that over eating spicy things that humans should not be eating, right? Like if you rub it in your eye, you might go blind. Maybe you shouldn't put it in your stomach. Right? I don't know, but I feel like Seth just had like, an hour of torture. Maybe you throw up, you're done. I think Prim paid for his choices like for several days after.
I've been busy, yeah. Like I can tell you that it was good, right? Like there's that spice level where like I'm on fire, definitely, but I enjoy it in a weird way. It still was flavorful. Somewhat. Like
so the person that enjoys flaming spicy wings that causes problems also enjoys standard. Okay, got it.
Maybe there's a pattern here.
Yeah, I think I came out ahead. If I had to do it again, I don't do well with spicy stuff. So even though I swore I will never eat another anchovy, if I had to choose between anchovies and the wing sauce that you had, I would probably take the anchovy again.
I mean, you won't know until you try it, right? Well, how about that? We'll chalk it down as maybe next time we all meet up. That's when we'll try it again. I'll bring hot sauce. Don't worry.
Or we do it. Maybe yeah. Next time we have the next Grand Prix Vegas, which can happen this year. We can have a pizza hot wing party.
Oh,
anchovy pizza and eat
Drenched
atomic
in hot
sauces.
sauce.
And then you can get your card signed by Seth in the bathroom.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do that in
the
the last day of Vegas, maybe. So, so we don't ruin the whole event. But that would be fun. Yeah, we should do that. All right, enough about food. We got lots of fish mail this week, and we actually have some time this week to give you some answers. So, Richard, fish mail us.
All right, at Bicycle. Whenever Mill is in a set, there's at least one person remarking that new players love Mill. Does this info come from somewhere? Or is it backed up by any evidence? Did you as new players love Mill?
I mean, I've always been fascinated with it, but I've also known that it just never works.
I don't remember personally loving Mill, although I think the evidence, I would say, would be stuff that you see just on like Reddit or social media where it's something that people bring up. And also, if you look at like budget magics through history, I think the one of the most popular ones that we've ever done is just a random budget blue mill deck, which I don't even think it was good for the most part. It was just like okay, but it's people just love it. Like people watch it and click on it and enjoy it. I think my theory is that when you start playing Magic, you learn, it's about getting your opponent's life total down to 0. And then mill is like the most common alternate win condition. So players have this like aha moment where they're like, whoa, I can win games of Magic in a way other than just like attacking my opponent's life total. And then you go through this like mill phase where you're like, I gotta like achieve this accomplishment. And that's kind of like your pathway into all the different ways that you can actually win a game of Magic.
Yeah.
100% agree.
I mean, when I first started, I was in love with the card Traumatized, right? Like that card was just like, it was so funny to me. And like, you know, what's the other Torment legendary that mills? Not Laquatus, Ambassador something, right?
It might be Laquatus. You just like pay 3 and mill 3 or something like that.
Yeah, like I was like, woo! You know, like the idea of just like throwing cards off the top of their library and it's like totally random. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, I don't know, maybe I hit something good. Something about it just feels fun, right? Like it's just a funny
I'll one up you. That last point you said was very true. So as a kid, I played Millstone not to mill you out, but just to mill your Sarah Angel out of your deck. Like, you were just like, oh, it's in your graveyard. Gotcha. Mission accomplished. Like that was it, right? And you know, we didn't know anything about game theory and card advantage or whatever. We were like, you don't have a Sarah Angel now, right?
Yeah.
Like for the same reason why WotC, you know, like random discard or, remember, what was that Hearthstone card where it like mills like half your deck or something? And then people are like, you know, but you just milled all your win cons out or something. You know, like it's just when you mill stuff into the graveyard, it feels really bad, even though it's the same as if it was just in another random spot in your deck. But it just feels really bad and new players don't like it, and then so when you do it to someone else, it feels really good, right? Where you mill their Uro, you're like, gotcha. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's not so good nowadays, but definitely like before, if you're like, haha, nice Sarah Angel, nice, you know, single Etherling, right? Like we got him.
I mean, obviously that doesn't line up with the math because you're milling random stuff. But as you said, it's not about the logic. It's about feeling like you got your opponent. But really, like what you don't think of and why mill isn't good is for every time that you mill the Sarah Angel, there's also the time when you like milled 2 dead land drops and your opponent drew the Sarah Angel. So yeah, but
so you're admitting to deck thinning.
You accidentally deck thin your opponent, which is why mill is bad. Yes.
Yeah, which is why deck thinning yourself is good, right? So you get to the good cards in your deck.
Yeah, so you played Millstone and thin your deck out with it.
Yep.
All right. Logan loves racing. I've been noticing that Pioneer challenges on Moto are failing to fire, and there have been discussions on social media if this format has a place in competitive Magic. Is Pioneer actually dying, or does it just need a shakeup? What's going on with Pioneer? Is no one playing Pioneer anymore?
I mean, I play it, but the thing here is I think that it does, like, some of the things, the interactions that are going on in the format are a bit annoying, right? Like the Lotus Breach stuff. It does need a shakeup, considering that WotC was supposed to be aggressively keeping an eye on, like, what is legal in the format, what isn't. And, they haven't really been paying attention to it at all.
So yes, I don't want to say Pioneer's dying. I don't think it's dying. I think Pioneer is gonna stick around, but it has gotten a lot less popular than it was like 6 months ago. And for me, I think there's like kind of a perfect storm of things happen to reduce its popularity. One is Modern was really bad when Pioneer was announced. That was like Oko, Urza / Karn for Mycosynth Lattice Modern, which was just absolutely miserable. So Pioneer looked good by comparison, but then Modern got some of the most miserable cards banned and improved. Historic has gotten a lot more popular in the last few months, so that's kind of like competing. We also had Theros Beyond Death unleash all these combo decks. Krim mentioned Lotus Breach. There's also the Heliod combo. There's also Dimir Inverter combo that just kind of dominated the format and made it feel like Modern without the deck diversity. Like, you're still going to lose to combo decks or play against combo decks all the time, but you can't play a million different decks. So I feel like there's a whole bunch of things that kind of like, and also the pandemic with Paper Magic kind of not being playable. That's where Pioneer was really taking off. I've been talking to some people that are saying before the pandemic hit, I had like 50 people showing up to play Pioneer FNM. Like, it was doing so well. And I don't think those players have necessarily transferred over to Magic Online, and it's not on Magic Arena. So I feel like all those things came together in a short period of time and really reduced the interest in the format. Maybe once Paper Magic like starts happening again, that'll help and it'll pick back up. But for now, it's still there, but I definitely think it has declined in popularity a lot.
Yeah, that I definitely also, I totally forgot about that too. Like, it was mostly just big on paper, right? Like, it was big for paper formats. And yeah, we just haven't had Paper Magic to kind of support it, and it definitely feels that way. But like, if they also just like do away with like the whole combo thing, like, I mean, the combos right now just make it so that there's like only 3 decks in the meta. The reason why it was so popular in the beginning was because you could play whatever.
Yeah, I think that would go a long ways. And also eventually it will be on Arena, which theoretically would be a boost in popularity if they kind of take care of the combo decks. But for me personally, that's the biggest reason that I play Pioneer less is I feel like if I'm going to play against combo, I might as well just play Modern. Like, I liked Pioneer because I felt like I wasn't losing to combo on turn 4 consistently, but then Pioneer ended up becoming kind of the same thing. So it's like, I might as well just go back to playing Modern then.
Yeah.
Do you think WotC will hold their word and push out Pioneer onto Arena? I feel since that announcement has been made, like a lot of push towards Historic and the popularity of the format, and also with Pioneer dying, that maybe Wizards is just like, no one plays Pioneer anymore, guys. We'll just focus on Historic because it's doing really well. All our numbers show all the players like playing it. And yeah, do you think they'll do that? Because I feel like that's the trend. Like, that's the trend, right? Like, Pioneer's going down, Historic's going up. What is the reason for supporting Pioneer on Magic Arena, right? It was a big deal when everyone loved Pioneer. If no one's talking about Pioneer, like, what is the point?
I mean,
it just needs a little bit
stop
of tweaking.
Him with Brawl.
Yeah, Brawl was just not even a thing. So yeah, like if Brawl made its way on there, then I think Pioneer definitely still would. And yeah, like Seth mentioned, it's not on Arena right now, and there's no paper events to support it. So naturally, people are going to just kind of ignore it, right?
I think they still will, because they've mentioned recently, I think with some like one of the Jumpstart articles mentioned that it was partly getting new cards on the client that will be used for Pioneers. So they have mentioned it more recently than the one announcement saying they were doing it. So it sounds like that's still the plan, although I think it is a fair question, because I used to think that once Pioneer got on Arena, Historic would just die, but I've definitely changed my tune on that, and I think best case, both formats will be played in popular on Arena. And if it did come down to choosing between the two formats, I honestly think they might choose Historic at this point.
All right, next question. Q-Dig. I know you've talked about this before without consensus. How you define a fair deck based on the turn it can win by, overall win percentage, hurt feelings by the loser who felt they didn't have a chance because it felt quote unquote unfair?
For me, I think like what fair magic it's just like, how would I describe it? It just feels like how when you'd play against like a Jund deck. Or just like a simple land go control deck that just like plays one threat. Like the threats and the way you lose aren't to like something like a combo deck. They aren't, you're not losing to some ridiculous interaction where you can't, or like some card you can't interact with. Like let's just say Field of the Dead. You know, you can't really efficiently interact with the land. So I look at fair magic as just a something like I play a bunch of things on a normal curve that you can you can actually like deal with like normal answers while also just being like, I don't know, like the interaction itself isn't too powerful. It isn't like how like Nissa and all of that feels and like Oko.
Yeah, it's actually really tricky. I think speed is definitely part of it. I feel like if you're winning on like turn 8 or something, you can't be considered an unfair deck. Like, no, even if you're winning with some sort of combo. So I think speed does play. I think that's the biggest factor for me. How quickly does your deck end the game? I think it has to also include some sort of combo, just winning quickly with like, I don't know, mono red aggro or the mono black. Like, sure, you can win quickly with mono black knights in standard if you stick a demonic embrace on a rotting registrar. You win on like turn whatever 4 or something. Like, but that doesn't necessarily make it an unfair deck. So I think it's the speed that it wins. It has to have a combo, and then I also think what you mentioned about interaction does play a part in it. Although that's where it gets hard because like the goblin combo with Snoop and Kiki Jiki. Normal interaction does stop that, but it's still like a Splinter Twin style combo, so I think it still counts as unfair. But I do think the way you interact with it does play into it as well. Like, can you interact with this with normal interactive spells, like creature removal spells that you would typically have in your deck? Or do you need like a really specific, like Storm combo, you need a really specific, not even the normal counter spell necessarily stops it. You need like a Mind Break Trap or something. So I feel like how many answers hits it also plays into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like what you consider closest to limited, I think would be fair magic, where the expectation is you're going to interact with your opponent, meaning you're going to try to deal with their board, they're going to try to deal with your board, and you're mostly interacting on the battlefield as opposed to on the stack, in the graveyard and things like that. And then, so using these definitions, I would consider like the Splinter Twin style decks like fair-ish. They're more fair to me than say Bant Ramp, where you're just like Super Friend decks are technically fair, I believe, but they feel totally unfair in the sense that none of your removal works, and you're just like racing against them, right? Like you're just racing and you're not caring about what they do and things like that. So yeah, I think it's like what is closest to limited to me, and that's like traditional Jund style decks. And then the only thing that would be slightly different would be like control-ish decks where they're still playing removal, but they also interact on the stack. But things like Aetherworks Marvel or things like that, where you're just like, I don't care what you're doing, I'm just gonna try to execute my game plan. And then the only reason I interact with you is because you have like a hate card or something stopping me. Other than that, I don't care about your creatures or anything. I'm just going to go to your face and kill you as fast as I can.
Pretty much, yeah, like how close you are to Solitaire will determine like if you're playing fair magic or not, right? I would say so. Like, I mean, if your game plan is just, haha, I'm going to do all of this and I don't care about interacting with you in any way, shape, or form, that probably means that you're doing some kind of game plan that is a little broken.
All right, next question. Gus98. Hello, Fish Crew. I want to ask, since it's been a year on this only one plane per set style, what are your thoughts on it? Also, which planes do you want to revisit? And which new concepts of planes you'd like to see, since we have more options per year now?
I want to see Laurelwind, because I know that probably isn't likely now with Eldraine's release, because I really just want to see fairies again, like, and actually have them be viable. And I also wouldn't mind seeing Kamigawa again, And then for my plane that I'd like to explore, I don't know about this, but or how people feel about it, but I do want to see space.
Whoa, that's out there.
Right? Like actually seeing the multiverse even. Like not like the planes that are in the multiverse, but like the spaces in between.
Interesting. I don't know about the one set block thing, honestly. Like, I think it's fine. I don't have any like huge criticism of it, and it is cool to get to see a bunch of different worlds, but I will say I do kind of miss like having the first set of the block come out in the fall and then being like, oh, like, yes, we don't have all the pieces for this yet, but I wonder what'll build on it next set. Like, what'll work with this when we get the next set of the block, or how does the story continue? So I feel like it's a little bit more disjointed, obviously, than it used to be. And I feel like it also, as far as like card design, it forces Wizards to push these like really strong block constructed decks. If you make food and you know there's no follow up to Eldraine, you got to make sure, if you want there to be a playable food deck, you got to make that all happen in one set. So I feel like it really restricts the amount of space for some of those mechanics. And if those mechanics ended up being really good, they don't end up changing it all because you don't get more food cards in the next set because that was an Eldraine thing and there's no second Eldraine set. So I think overall I'm fine with it, but there are some aspects of it that I don't enjoy as much. I think I would like to see maybe like a Viking theme set, just because of the beards. They're trying to think like what world will give me the best bearded characters, and it's probably like some sort of Norse Viking type thing. And for Return to New Phyrexia, I want to see what happened post New Phyrexia in that world. Even though I'm a little scared of going back to an artifact world again because that usually ends badly. But outside of that concern, I would like to see what happened to New Phyrexia.
Yeah, I want to see new worlds. I don't want to see return to old worlds. Like, I don't know. Like, every return to old world has been a miss for me. Starting like all the way back from like Battle for Zendikar. Even like Return to Theros is like blah. Like, to me, Eldraine was much more exciting. So I like to see new worlds. Space World would be interesting. I don't know what you would do with it. But that sounds intriguing. I'm digging Return to New Phyrexia just because of collector's boosters. I really want that Elish Norn Phyrexian text card, also the Swamp. So I'd imagine they do a lot more of those. So that would be super interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be really cool.
More Phyrexian like promos would be cool. And like maybe get like a black-red Phyrexian based Koth. Because I think that's where Koth was last seen, right? He was left on New Phyrexia.
Koth is dead, isn't he?
I'm not sure, but I mean, is anybody really dead? You know what I mean? Like
I think he is really dead. I think all of the Magic characters that died have actually died, except when you die on Theros, where it's known to have an underworld. But I mean, Venser's
Elspeth has
dead.
conquered death, so I feel like you you can too.
All right, Koth conquers death.
Yep.
Bring back mono red.
Honestly though, like it would be cool, right? Like you get to see a red black Phyrexian Koth.
I'm just scared of what Praetors they'll print, or like what what crazy Phyrexian finishers there will be.
Jin Gatax is at 5. Everything is just
infect. Now you can give infect counters, like actual counters that give the infect mechanic. Wouldn't that be fun?
Sure.
All right, last question. L. Brian Patrick, is Thoughtseize too powerful for a reprint in Standard? What about Path to Exile?
Thoughtseize is not too powerful. I think Thoughtseize would be just fine. I mean, you could even make it like, I think you'd have to make it Phyrexian mana. And like
what?
Because honestly, just the idea behind discard now, right? Like the idea behind it just doesn't feel great. There is no one key part of Bant. It's not like I took your Uro, you'll never get back in the game, right? Like it's like everything is redundant in these Bant decks, and there is no one piece that you're looking to get rid of. All the cards are good, and discard doesn't stop top decks unless you've got 3 fairy. And that's the only way you're stopping top decks, right? So it feels kind of just like, here, I thought erasured you. All right, cool. You still drew another Planeswalker. Looks like I died.
If you had asked me this like 2 years ago, I would say definitely too powerful. I don't want it back in Standard about both of those cards, honestly. But asking me this today, I actually think that Path would be fine, and Thoughtseize is probably fine too. Like, kind of based on the theory of what Krim is saying. Like, cards are just so good and decks are so redundant, and the ability to generate card advantage comes attached to everything. I think Thoughtseize would still be played, but I'm not worried about it being the best card in the format like it was back in like Mono Black Devotion era.
Yeah, like if it were they made a new Thoughtseize and it were 1 mana and it did what Thought Erasure did, like I think it would still it'd still get played, but I don't think it'd be too powerful.
I don't think they'd be like warping the metagame, but I think it does further power creep, right? Like, think of the creatures we have today based on the removal we have. We don't even have Path to Exile, right? Like, I guess Fatal Push was our closest one. Yeah, but now if you print Path, then your creatures must be even more powerful to overcome the disadvantage of getting Paths, right? So now they got to come in and like do 2 ETBs so that you don't get 2 for 1. You know what I mean? So it just furthers power creep. And I think Thoughtseize and aggro decks would be too strong.
Aren't we already there?
No, because they cost too much, right? Like, you can't play a 2 mana Thoughtseize because you haven't developed a board, so you can't do anything, right? The idea is you like 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop Thoughtseize, right? Or Thoughtseize 2 drop, 3 drop, kill them. If you're doing mid-rangey things, yeah, Thoughtseize is totally useless, right? Like, if you Thoughtseize and don't kill them, yeah, they're gonna turn 5 Nissa you anyway. But if you just curve out with the Thoughtseize, like take that 1 Shatter or that 1 Teferi, then they're gonna die. So I don't know how you would balance it.
Well, I more so meant, like, aren't we already there with the creatures and the sword, like, path part? Like, I mean, like, imagine you have to answer Uro. Uro just got you 2 lands. I don't know if
yes, but imagine if you can path the Rotting Register with Demonic Embrace now, right? Like, those decks, like, have no chance whatsoever, right? Now you can Nissa, untap land, Teferi, bounce, followed by a path. Like, you literally can't interact anymore if you give a path to those decks, right?
Right. Even the aggro decks right now, like the answers and like all that stuff, like, can you really be that aggressive? I don't know. I don't think Thoughtseize would make it so that aggro can curve out and just like completely dunk you, because I mean, I've had some crazy curve outs on an aggro deck and just can't get around Uro and or like the things that follow. It's just...
All right. We'll change it to Hymn to Torok. That's a Thoughtseize, okay?
Yeah.
You discard a card at random for the first card, and then the second card, you get to Thoughtseize them, okay?
That would be good. Okay, that's good. I would be down with that. But then that'd be way too broken.
I mean, we have that, right? Isn't that Stupor, but it's 3 mana? Would that at 2 mana be too good?
Yes.
All right, how about 1 and 2 Phyrexian?
So 1 mana. Cool. All right.
Oh, geez. Death Shadow and Modern would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. You have to play them early, like with a tap land in standard, and like I don't know. You can't. These 2 or 3 mana discard spells are like super feels bad, right? Because your opponent, you know, they can just top deck whatever. Every card they play is a 2 for 1. If you spent 2 mana, you didn't play a threat, so you're already behind. So they got to be like pretty efficient, and then they got to be good enough to get you an advantage, but not so good that like everyone just plays like, you know, Thoughtseize into Pack Rat, you're dead, right? Like,
Does that line even kill you in 2020 though? Thoughtseize into Pack Rat, it's like that. That's just what I mean. Like, it's like, it just, the powerful interactions that you're afraid of when a deck curved out, right? Like back then just feels like, I don't know, a limited deck at points here, right? It's like, all right. Very cool.
All right, tune into Goat Magic tomorrow, where we may have answers to some of these questions. a little spicy preview for our podcast viewers or listeners. All right, that's all the time we have for fish mail this week. Thank you to everyone who sent in fish mail. You can send in fish mail to @MTGGoldfish on Twitter with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 284 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So, Richard, Krim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. You get 10% off over at cardconduit.com/goldfish. And we'll be back next week to talk about whatever goes down in the world of Magic. So until then, have a wonderful week. And this is the crew signing out.